Soft, golden sunbeams pierced the deep water, gently crafting a truly mesmerizing dance of light across Howe Sound. Mark Anderson, gliding into the chilly embrace off British Columbia's wild coast, had no clue that this calm September day would shift his path. With over a decade of diving experience behind him, countless deep plunges and thousands of frames captured, nothing could truly ready him for what lay ahead. The visibility that day was simply breathtaking. Stretching 30 meters, the water, a crisp 12 degrees, felt incredibly clear and pure. Mark drifted slowly through the kelp forests, aiming his camera lens at vibrant sea stars dotting the rocky floor. His gaze caught a small cluster of sea cucumbers, so he paused to snap a few close-up macro shots. Right in that fleeting moment, he sensed it. A subtle shift in the water's flow. Something massive was moving nearby. Mark turned, slowly pivoting, expecting a curious seal, or maybe a passing orca, the usual guests in these waters. But what he actually saw made him freeze in total awe. A young, humpback calf, barely 4 meters long, was hovering just a few feet away. Its movements felt odd, entirely unlike the graceful dance of these majestic giants. The little calf moved in jerks, constantly glancing back, as if checking if Mark was watching. Its small eyes, shockingly expressive for such a huge creature, seemed to radiate both panic and a silent plea. Mark, holding his breath, flicked on the camera. Being this close to a wild calf felt absolutely surreal, but the animal didn't care about the lens. It swam closer, almost brushing Mark with its heavy fin, then sharply veered aside, swimming a wide arc before returning. This happened several times, and with each loop, it became undeniably clear the calf was trying to tell him something. After the 5th or 6th pass, the little one abruptly changed its course, heading off with purpose. After swimming about 20 meters, it paused and looked back, checking if the diver followed. Mark hesitated briefly. Trailing a wild animal out there could be risky, yet something in the calf's manner, persistence bordering on pure desperation, made him decide. After checking his air gauge and compass heading, Mark swam after his strange guide. They were moving northeast, drifting further from the safety of shore. The depth increased, and the sunlight began to dim. Every 30 or 40 meters, the calf would stop, as if giving the diver time to catch up, ensuring he was still trailing behind. After crossing 500 meters, they reached a sunken valley. Here, in the shallow depression, Mark saw something that made his blood run cold. A massive, adult humpback, at least 14 meters long, hung motionless in the water column. Her body was coated in what looked like a strange, gray crust from afar. Getting closer, Mark realized they were barnacles, but not the usual small clusters you see on whales. This was a thick, solid layer, inches deep in some places. They smothered almost her entire body, leaving only tiny patches clear around her eyes and blowhole. The calf swam to the large whale, presumably his mother, and nudged her gently, trying to get her to move, but the poor creature just barely twitched her tail. Unevenly her sides heaved with every breath. Wasting no time, the diver swam closer, hands trembling, as he pulled his titanium knife from its sheath. He knew barnacles could signal a severe health crisis. Usually, a whale's strong immunity stops parasites from multiplying like this. Something had gravely weakened this majestic being. Something had devastated the health of this beautiful giant. Carefully approaching her massive flank, Mark began prying off the biggest clumps of shells. The task was grueling and delicate. He had to be gentle enough not to cut her skin, yet use enough force to dislodge the stubborn parasites. The calf stayed close, circling anxiously, and time to time, letting out low rumbles that echoed in the deep. His mother barely moved, just blinking slowly with her huge eye whenever Mark drifted into her view. After 30 minutes of hard labor, he'd cleared a patch the size of a dinner table, but it was just a drop in the bucket. Barnacles covered her entire immense form. It became painfully clear that he couldn't do this alone. Plus, his pressure gauge warned that his air was running dangerously low. Mark shot to the surface, memorizing the coordinates. Once in the boat, he grabbed the radio and hailed marine rescue. His voice shook with emotion as he explained the crisis. "This is Mark Anderson," he said, "certified diver. I'm about a mile northeast of the House Sound entrance. I've found an adult humpback in critical shape. She's completely encrusted with barnacles. The animal is practically immobilized, and there is a calf with her." An expert was on the other end of the line. He asked a few sharp questions about the whale's condition, estimated size, and the current depth. Then he promised that a rescue squad would be there within an hour, tops. That single hour felt like a lifetime to Mark. He dove with his snorkel periodically to check they were still there. The calf seemed to sense help was coming. He stopped darting around and just hovered by his mom, softly touching her with his fin. The specialized rescue vessel appeared on the horizon exactly 53 minutes later. On board was a 6-person crew, 2 marine vets, 3 rescue techs, and a whale behavior expert. After assessing the scene, they got straight to work. 2 divers went down with gear designed for barnacle removal. Their tools were far better than Mark's knife. They used hydraulic scrapers to clear the parasites without hurting the whale's skin. The work was slow, but incredibly methodical. Every hour, the divers swapped out to save air. Mark, getting the green light from the mission lead, joined the rotation to help out. The calf stayed close the whole time, watching the rescue unfold. Once most of the barnacles were finally cleared, the vets could do a proper checkup. What they found made them deeply worried. On her flank, they spotted a weird bulge, something totally unnatural for this species. An underwater ultrasound with portable gear revealed a foreign object in her stomach. They decided immediately to move her to the nearest rehabilitation center. It was a tricky and dangerous move. She was so weak that any stress could be fatal, but they had no choice. Without urgent surgery, she had 0 chance of surviving. Using a special inflatable pontoon and tug, they gently towed her to shore. The calf followed the boat, never lagging behind a meter. At the rehab center, the vet team started the operation. At once, what they pulled from her stomach shocked everyone. It was a huge chunk of industrial fishing net soaked in toxic sludge. Lab tests showed the net was treated with a nasty anti-fouling mix, including tributyltin, one of the deadliest marine pollutants. "It's a ticking chemical time bomb," explained Dr. Chen, the head vet, showing Mark the results. When she swallowed this, the chemicals began dissolving in her stomach. Acid. The toxins leached into her blood, building up in her fat, slowly poisoning her whole system. The monitors showed the damage to her organs. Her liver was swollen to nearly twice its size, tissues inflamed. Her kidneys were struggling to flush the poison. Her immune system had basically shut down, inviting the massive barnacle infestation. 3 or 4 more days. Dr. Chen shook his head over the data, and the damage would have been irreversible. The toxin levels in her blood were critical. That's why she couldn't move. Her muscles were partly paralyzed by the poison. If not for the calf's amazing cleverness and your timely call, we would have lost them both for sure. Mark peered at the net fragment under the lab light. You could clearly see toxic crystals embedded in the synthetic fibers. These coatings were banned in the early 2000s because they're so toxic, a lab tech noted, but some shady manufacturers still use them where rules are lax. For the next 3 weeks, the whales stayed in the rehab pool. Mark visited daily, helping care for them and filming their recovery. Slowly, the mother's condition improved. Her wounds healed, blood tests showed lower toxin levels, and her appetite returned. The calf never left her side. The staff were amazed by his loyalty. If he hadn't been so stubborn about finding help, we'd never have known she was in trouble, they said. By mid-October, when her health stabilized, they decided to release them back to the wild. The release day was surprisingly warm and clear. Dozens gathered on the shore to watch the touching moment. Mark was on a chase boat, filming as the pool gates opened. The whales didn't rush out. For a few minutes, they just drifted at the exit, as if remembering what freedom felt like. Then, deciding it was time, mother and child dove together toward the open sea. Suddenly, a bit further out, they paused. Turning back, both whales breached in unison, a breathtaking sight as they launched almost fully from the water, crashing down with a joyous splash. To everyone watching, it felt like a farewell salute, a thank you. After that, they swam slowly north, beginning their long migration to winter grounds in Hawaii. In the months that followed, their story spread through scientific journals. The calf's behavior, seeking help on his own, sparked huge interest. Experts called it rare proof of their high intelligence. Mark kept tracking them via tags attached. Before release, the signals confirmed they safely reached the warm Hawaiian waters, joining a larger pod. The following summer, something magical happened. Mark, now diving regularly in that same spot hoping to see them, spotted familiar spouts. Approaching in his boat, he recognized them. Instantly, mother and calf, back in their summer feeding grounds. They looked healthy and vibrant. The mother's body showed almost no sign of her illness, just a small scar, reminding him of the surgery. They hung around Mark's boat for nearly an hour, letting him take photos, peeking out of the water as if posing. The calf, now much bigger, even dared to swim right up to the hull, gently brushing it with his fin. This story became a powerful symbol of successful conservation. It reminded everyone how deeply our lives connect with the ocean. Thanks to one person caring and a skilled team, 2 beautiful lives were saved. For Mark, it was a turning point. He quit his old job to dedicate himself fully to protecting marine mammals, joining the very center that helped the whales. Now, he assists in rescues regularly, helping other sea creatures in distress. His footage of the whales became part of a major educational program, highlighting how human trash devastates ocean life. Every year, when the humpbacks return to BC, Mark heads out to sea with a special excitement. Even though the odds of seeing his whales again are slim, he never loses hope. That incredible experience taught him that miracles do happen, especially when amazing creatures like humpback whales are involved. So he keeps watching them horizon, grateful for the bond they shared, and knowing that somewhere out in the deep blue, his friends are swimming free. End of story. Music fades out. Credits roll. Screen fades to black. Subscribe for more stories.